Hello, everybody, and welcome back to episode now number 13 of the Spittin Fax podcast. I'm Ethan Spazarski.
I'm Joey Priano.
And we are here today, new jerseys, new us. We are ready to get it started with our favorite segment that Spittin Fax has to offer. It's actually kind of the only segment, but that's just a mere technicality. Our favorite segment, Joey, go ahead, say it. Say it. I'll let you say it.
The top tens. So we have done now quarterback and running back. Today we are here with tight ends in the top 10 segment. Little technicality, we do only have 7 each. Sorry for that, but you know what? There were only 7 elite tight ends in our opinion, so that's how we did the list.
Exactly, set up. So technically, yes, it is, but this is the new graphic. Enjoy it, love it, because if you don't, too bad, so sad. I make the graphics, I choose the rules. But either way, we are here now to talk about our top 7 tight ends in the lists I'm about to reveal. And 3, 2, 1, boom! There we go. There are our tight end lists that I know we're excited to show you guys. Excited to give and show you our lists here. Yeah, they are pretty similar. However, the bottom portion of the list should be interesting to talk about. We do see differently eye to eye, physically and in this case mentally as well. So, without further ado, Joey, I'm a gentleman. I'll let you explain yourself for letting Dawson Knox slide onto this list.
Okay, and also disclaimer: we were not together when we made these lists. We didn't talk about them together. We didn't try and persuade each other. It just happens that we had a lot of the tight ends at the same spots.
Our IQ is
But one that
so
we
high.
did differ on was our number 7. I have Dawson Knox. Now, the reason that I think that Dawson Knox is the number 7 tight end is because we are not just going based off of how they performed last year or so far. We're also projecting for the next year. And so the fact that Dawson Knox's quarterback is Josh Allen is one of the reasons that he's on this list. Because I see Josh Allen having a career year, which in turn means that I think that Dawson Knox's production is going to go way up. He hasn't finished a season yet. He played 15 games his rookie year, then he played 12 and then 15. He is very young. He's only 25 years old. So for his kind of play level and how good he is for that young of a tight end, I think shows a lot of room for improvement already having be that good. Last year he played 15 games. He had 71 targets, 49 receptions, 587 yards, and 9 touchdowns. I see all of those numbers going up. I think the targets, he might hit 100 this year. He's really the number 2 threat on that team, if you're not counting like Gabriel Davis, but he's pretty unproven so far. So behind Stephon Diggs, I think that Dawson Knox is going to get the majority of these targets. So I think that his targets go up, maybe hitting triple digits. I think that his receptions, he could get up to 60, 70 in that range. I think yards are going to go way up from 587 to 700s. I think that his touchdowns hit double digits. I just really like Dawson Knox and his connection with Josh Allen. So I think that he improves this year. So I'm really excited to see that.
You do bring up a lot of good points. Josh Allen gonna have a career year. I think he's currently on the track to become. He already is top 3 between him, Mahomes, and Herbert. There's a lot of argument there for the future and who's gonna be the best quarterback in the league. As of recent, it's obviously been Patrick Mahomes. But if we keep counting on the years, I don't know. Both men are giving a run for his money, along with honestly Tom Brady coming back. Maybe if he's up there in the top 4 as well. We've already talked about top 10 quarterbacks, however. We're here to talk about tight ends. Quarterback's main best friend, because when you can't turn to a wide receiver, who do you throw to? A tight end. Because that's always been a check down guy, and who else better to give a check down to than Dalton Schultz, a man who quite literally came out of nowhere the past 2 seasons. He's been getting better. So let me read you his stat line, because I have that up myself. Dalton Schultz, unlike Dawson Knox, did play a full 17 games last year. He started 15 of them. He caught 154 balls for over 1,500 yards. He averaged 10 yards a reception and got 12 touchdowns. He was able to get 82 first downs, and most importantly, he was able to work with a Dallas defense that should have been obliterating teams left and right with their offensive firepower they were able to have last year. Instead, they showed a very good. They showed how to struggle with a really good offense, and I feel like that starts with Mike McCarthy. But That carries over. However, now they did lose Amari Cooper. They did lose. They only have CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup. They got James Washington. So you lose a key top number one receiver, which means everyone's going to be bumped up at least one whenever you think about it. And Dalton Schultz, up to this point, has been proving himself. He was able to be open, make a lot of catches. He wasn't injury prone like a lot of guys can be in the NFL. It is a very physical league. I know I can't last a week in an NFL getting hit that hard that many times for that long of a period in a game. So for Dalton Schultz to stay healthy and able to work with Dak Prescott, who's on a comeback year after his ankle injury, devastating ankle injury, I feel like Dalton Schultz deserves to be on this list. Again, he's just starting to get good, so he's definitely not top five in recent history or going off of last season. But he is on my list. I feel he deserves more accolades than he's being given credit to. He's a top fantasy watch, in my opinion. He's a great tight end number two for anybody looking for a tight end number two, or maybe even a tight end one for some teams, depending on where you're drafting or how late in the draft you're drafting. So, depending on your strategy and where you draft, and this could be a tight end one. In my opinion, he's a tight end two, but he's still really good. I'm excited to see what he does this year, rolling off of because 2020 was good, 2021 was even better. Now let's see 2022. I want to see even better from the season last.
And another thing with Dalton Schultz that I think is really impressive is those numbers you were reading were over his whole career. But his past 3 years ago in 2019, he didn't start a single game. He played in all 16 games, and he ended with 1 catch for 6 yards. So he was non-existent. He had an okay 2018. He played 11 games. He had 12 catches, 100-some yards. No real impact to the team. But you're right, these last 2 years, after Blake Jarwin isn't really there anymore, he's the number one tight end on that team. In these past 2 years, staying on the field, it's been proven. He's got 75% catch percentage last year, which is really good. The drops aren't really an issue. Yeah, I think that he's really good. If we had gone to top 10, Dalton Schultz would have made my list. He's a very good tight end.
I think, yeah, also on top of that, what we were talking about when I was mentioning a high-powered offense, besides Dalton Schultz, can you name a tight end on that team? I mean, Blake Jarwin, I guess technically, yeah, but right now he's not with the team. So
that's it.
They had a lot of number one. They didn't have a lot of depth. The Dallas Cowboys did. They had a lot of weapons, but not a lot of depth. So another guy who's on the rise. Speaking of on the rise and making since about 2020, this man has been electric as well. Man, we both have at number 6. He goes by the name of Mike Gesicki. His hands are like glue traps and the footballs are flies. They are catching everything. He doesn't drop the ball often, and he's a very tall and big guy, so he fits the tight end role perfectly.
Yeah, I like Mike Gesicki a lot. I'm very interested to see where his production goes now that they brought in Tyreek Hill, because of course last year with Jalen Waddle doing what he did, he still ended up with 73 catches, 780 yards, and he still ended up with 112 targets. So those targets are going to go to Tyreek Hill now. So I think Jalen Waddle drops in targets a little bit. Gesicki drops in targets a little bit. But he's such a physical guy, such a good route runner for his size. I mean, he's 6'6", 247. He's just a beast of a guy. The touchdowns, he had a good amount of he only had 2 touchdowns last year. But, of course, Jalen Waddle taking away some of that production. The touchdowns they're not there, but the yardage is there. The catches are there. The targets are there. So I'm very interested to see where that goes with Tyreek Hill there, and if Tua is going to be able to get it to him as much. But, I mean, he played all 17 games last year. He played 15 the year before that and 16 the 2 years before that. And those 2 years before that with 16 were back when they were still playing 16 games, not 17. So I really like Mike Gesicki. I'm excited to see if he can reproduce what he did last year. And even if he doesn't, then the production's going to Tyreek Hill, so the yards are still there. But, yeah, I like Gesicki for this year.
Tua Tagovailoa. That is whose fate all 3 of these men that we're talking about right now rely on. A man who got drafted out of Alabama. You come out of Alabama, you're meant to be a 5-star quarterback. You're meant to be NFL, almost not NFL ready, but beginning of NFL ready because of Nick Saban down there, and that football program is the best in the country, no question, in recent history. There's no question. It's been a very interesting first 2 seasons for Tua. His second season definitely better than his first. However, I'm not completely sold on him yet. He's the only left-handed starting quarterback in the league. It'll be interesting to see how everything develops out because, like you were mentioning, Miami gives up a lot for Tyreek Hill. They would get a number one star. Jalen Waddle had an amazing rookie year. He's a great number two. Then you got tight end Mike Gesicki. So he's getting these weapons. He has these guys, and they also have they have receiving backs as well down there in Miami. With Raheem Mostert, Sony Michelle, and who else? Who else did Miami pick up? Running back.
They have. What else do they have? I don't know. I'll look. You can
go double check for the last guy real quick. But either way, so Tua's getting these weapons, so he has the options to get these guys to give these guys the ball, and I think that's going to be important to remember because Tua needs the development. He needs to keep going the right direction. He's getting a new head coach that could push him back or that could push him forward. It depends on how the season's going to start out, but. I think he has great weapons enough that'll give him a good base, and Mike Gesicki's a great starting tight end. So if Tua is able to get him the ball and distribute well out of his left hand, I feel like this Miami team, without a doubt, could push for argument for second best or for second place in the AFC. What is the AFC East they're in?
Yeah, they're four running backs. Chase Edmonds, Raheem Mostert, Sony Michelle, and Myles Gaskin.
All right, so it's Chase.
All four of those have been starters in their career.
All right, yeah, no, that's gonna get so that helps Tua, and that's also gonna open up the possibility for Mike Gesicki to get an opportunity, especially with two great wide receivers, where you can start out and you double cover either one of them. It's gonna open up something. So Mike Gesicki at 6, ladies and gentlemen. Now for the last time on this list, where Joey and I disagree again because our IQs are simply higher than yours. I would like Joey to explain himself for this T.J. Hawkinson number 5 because I guess I can understand Dawson Knox sneaking onto this list, but I don't understand T.J. Hawkinson's.
Yeah, I don't know. I think T.J. Hawkinson is a force to be reckoned with. The other threats on that team aren't huge threats. I mean, DeAndre Swift is a good running back, obviously, but he's not a huge threat in the receiving game. He can catch the ball if he needs to, and he can run routes, but he's not going to take away targets. And their wide receivers, Amon-Ra St. Brown, he had a good year last year, but of course he's a rookie. He's not super proven. DJ Chark is with injuries. Haven't really seen him in his full potential yet, so you don't know if he's going to stay on the field. Jameson Williams, of course, being a rookie, just being drafted, is coming off of a big injury. So I'm just not sold on any of these wide receivers at the moment. And so other than that, like their backups are like Josh Reynolds and Quintez Cephas and Khalif Raymond. Like these just aren't guys that I'm comfortable being starting wide receivers. So I think that there's nobody else that's going to get the production except for T.J. Hawkinson, and I think he gets it. Their offensive line has improved. They have Taylor Decker now. They drafted Penei Sewell last year. They still have Frank Ragnow. They've just improved at a lot of positions, but their offensive line just still isn't, or their receivers just still aren't super impressive to me. So I just think he's going to get a lot of production this year. The touchdowns aren't super there. He only had 4 last year, but again, when he's on the field, he's doing well. So I don't know. I just think he gets up.
I'd like to mention someone who I'm excited. I just want to give a shout out to my boy Amon-Ra St. Brown. I'm really excited to see him. I don't know what it is about him, but last season, every time I watched the highlights, I got excited when he came on the screen. So I'm glad you brought him up and gave him a proper shout out as he deserves. But back to the main point we're at with tight end wise. Your starting quarterback's Jared Goff, so yeah, you're going to get a lot of receptions as a tight end because he doesn't really have too much of an arm. He can throw it, but the accuracy as you get deeper downfield, tends to get a little more loose. You got Dan Campbell at head coach here who has proven that he likes to get the ball all around. There's no specific spot, but when you have Jared Goff at quarterback, tight ends are going to get a lot of touches. Your points are very valid.
I also go ahead.
No, go for it.
Everybody forgets that T.J. Hawkinson made the Pro Bowl last year. Not last year, the year before that. Like he was drafted in 2019. He did okay as a rookie. He was very underwhelming, and then he made the Pro Bowl the year after that.
I don't
In
get too
16
focused up
games,
on.
he had 67 catches, 700 yards, and 6 touchdowns, and made a Pro Bowl appearance.
I
So
like
he
Pro Bowl.
can do it.
I want to count Pro Bowls a lot, but Pro Bowls as of recent have become more of a popularity contest sometimes, which stinks. But so the credibility towards it can be sometimes fishy. But you do have very valid points. I'll give you that. I didn't. I mean, it's listening to you talk about that. It kind of opened up my eyes. Like, all right, I guess if I had a top 10 list, T.J. Hawkinson would again be on this, just like my Dalton. He's my Dalton Schultz.
Mhm.
Um, so understandably so. However, I still think the guy I'm about to talk about, Zach Ertz, is more of a top 5 tight end than T.J. Hawkinson. And part of that has to do with experience because Zach Ertz has been in this league since what 2013, excuse me. So that definitely is a factor to play into it. But last year, Zach Ertz is a longtime Philadelphia Eagle. Last season, he got sent over to the Arizona Cardinals about halfway through. He played 6 games with the teams. He got let's see. He got 18 receptions for 189 yards. Or, excuse me, I lied. 56 receptions for 574 yards. My apologies, that was in a game. Um, so Zach Ertz, just right off the bat, already with less than half a season, had over 500 yards receiving. Kyler Murray was giving it to him. He was averaging 10.3 yards a catch. He was able to get, let's see, how many touchdowns was he able to get?
He had 5 touchdowns last year.
Touchdowns. I don't know why my I can't read. He had 3, or it says to me he has 3.
He had 3 with Arizona and he had 2 with Philly last year.
Oh, okay. No, you're right. Yes. So either way, he's a really good tight end. He's been proven reliable. Along with Gesicki, he has really good hands. He's not as big as Gesicki, I believe, but he's definitely can catch the ball. Zach Ertz is 6'5", 250, and I'd have to double check Mike Gesicki's size, but
I think Gesicki is 6'6", 250.
All right, so they're similar, but Zach Ertz is smaller. But with Philadelphia, I'll read you in 9 years with Philadelphia, he caught 579 balls for over 6,000 yards in 9 seasons. For a tight end, that's really good. Obviously, Travis Kelce redefines really good because he's getting over 1,000 yards receiving each year. But for by normal tight end standards, Zach Ertz fits it. That's why he's at number 5. He's a top 5 tight end in this league. Whether we do a top 10, 7, 30, I think he's a top 5 tight end. He deserves a lot of respect, and he's a Super Bowl champ. He worked with Nick Foles, so anybody who can help make the Philadelphia Eagles Super Bowl year worth it and help them win a championship deserves a lot more of credit than they were given. So Zach Ertz is going to be at my number 5. There's no question for that. Now,
yeah, I want to come back at that because I want to tell you why I disagree. So I think that if we were making a list solely based on like the last couple years or like careers of like our generation right now, he's a top 3 tight end and he's so good. And if he was on the Eagles, I still think that he's top 5. But I can't see him getting the amount of production. It's kind of, to me, the opposite of T.J. Hawkinson. I think that T.J. Hawkinson is a top 5 tight end because there's no one really else on that team. You can make a case for Amon St. Brown, but other than that, there's no one really else on that team. But the Cardinals have everybody else on that team. He's competing with Marquise Brown. DeAndre Hopkins is going to play this year. Probably not the whole year, but he's going to play 6 games. A.J. Brown, Rondale Moore, Andy Isabella. They just drafted Antoine Wesley. They've got 2 other tight ends there who've played. They just drafted Trey McBride. I don't know why the Cardinals would go out and draft a tight end unless they weren't super happy with Zach Ertz. And they've got Max Williams who's been there. There's just so many threats there that I can't see him getting enough production. James Conner is a huge threat in the receiving game.
Yeah,
so Kyler Moore can throw it. He can throw it, and he's good at spreading the ball around. But you've got so many, like they've got 4 receivers who I think are better than Zach Ertz. I think DeAndre Hopkins, Marquise Brown, AJ Green, and Rondell Moore all are going to get more production than Zach Ertz. I think all of them are better than him. James Conner takes away targets in the receiving game. So I love Zach Ertz, and he'd be top 5 on my list if he were on Philadelphia, for example. But I just think there's too many stars there for him to be on my list. And he would be on my top 10 list if we did 10, but that's the only reason I don't think he's top 5.
Fair point. It's going to be interesting to see how the Cardinals are going to play out because they're among the teams that mixed up their weapons because you get Marquise Brown. Granted, him and Kyler played together in Oklahoma in college. You're Christian Kirk with a new team, and last year was I lied. They lost Christian Kirk. He went to Jacksonville. I don't know why I just brain spaced there. But I think it's going to be important for Kyler with a new contract. He's going to need to space it out, and you lose half of that good run game down in Arizona. James is a good runner. I think he's a better runner than he is receiver. I think if he gets open space, that's where he's most dangerous, whether he's running it or catching it. And that was a complete 180 spin from how he was in Pittsburgh when he was up here with us in the Steelers. So I'm happy he's doing that down there in Arizona. But I don't know. I think past history kind of pushes him up this list. I think your reasoning for not having him here is valid with Arizona, but I think if anything that his past propels him up through experience over top of a lot of other guys. So fair arguments from both sides. If that you want to put your comments down below what you believe, anything you feel is right, wrong, maybe indifferent, how you feel towards Zach Ertz or T.J. Hawkinson. Feel free to put it in below. We'd love to hear what people have to say besides just us talking to ourselves, which is a lot of fun. So starting with good.
Here's what I think. If Zach Ertz, after the first 6 games, see how he plays without DeAndre Hopkins on the field. If he can shine in those first 6 games, he'll shine the rest of the year, and I'll say that I'm wrong, and he's a top 5 tight end. I think that if he can live up to his full potential without Hawkinson, I think that they'll continue it for the rest of the year. So if that happens, I can see it happening. I will admit I'm wrong because I can see that happening.
To prove that you've been saying that, and you are 100% right. They're without D-Hop for 6 games for some off-season shenanigans. We'll refer to it as right now. Off-season shenanigans with D-Hop. So they're down their number 1 guy, a guy who dealt with a lot of injury last year, who Houston literally traded nothing for, and in return, Arizona was supposed to get this star guy, and they're getting holy crap! I'm sorry, I just yawned out of nowhere. You got the star guy out of. So this is what Zach Ertz was brought over for, to produce and help Kyler boost up that legacy score, and it helps that he was able to get this new contract. So I think that Zach Ertz is going to play a fat deal into how Arizona is going to handle their season this year, especially off an embarrassing playoff loss to my LA Rams last year in the first round. So for the next 4 players, they are the same guys, same order for both of our lists, which kind of, again, on one part, it's like, holy crap, we're both incredibly smart and that dang good. But the other part of it takes away a little bit of the fun. However, that doesn't mean we can't hype up our guys here. And who better to start with of hyping up than Darren Waller, a man who was the definition of recent success towards the NFL. Him and Derek Carr have developed
I love Darren Waller.
A really good relationship. I know we've talked about it before. If Darren didn't get hurt last year, potentially maybe he fights Mark Andrews for this overall number 3 spot. Last year, Mark Andrews was the best tight end in the league. But either way, Darren Waller is, besides those last 6 games he missed with injury, I got no complaints from his end. He's been able to catch the ball. He's been rebounded. He rebounded through a lot of off the field issues. So as a person, he's great. As a player, he's really great. I'm excited to see where he goes. I know, Joey, you have the specific stats. If you want to go ahead and read it to share with the class.
Yeah, I was really disappointed that he got hurt last year because in 2019 and 2020, he had more than 1,100 receiving yards. Like in 2019 with the Raiders, he had 117 targets, 90 catches, which is a really good catch percentage. It's 77% almost. 11 45 yards. He only had 3 touchdowns, so the touchdowns weren't really there. But again, he was an all-pro choice. He was just really, really good last year, or that year. And then it was like, okay, well, he's really good. He played all the games. He's really good. What's he going to do the next year? The next year, he comes back. He didn't play one game, and he still had 145 targets, 107 catches, and almost 1,200 yards. And he had 9 touchdowns, so he got the touchdowns. He is super good. I'm really happy to see where he's come from. He wasn't really great on Baltimore. He went to Oakland. He only played 4 games his first year there. So for him to step up, I'm really disappointed that he didn't get to play all the games last year, because I think another Pro Bowl choice would have happened. He's a really good tight end. And yeah, if he played all his games, he probably reaches 1,000 yards again. The production's there. I'm really excited to see how he pairs with Davante Adams, because Davante Adams is now the number 1 threat on that team. So he's going to be taking the double coverage. So Hunter Renfrow did really well last year, because Darren Waller, when he was on the field, was taking all the double coverage because he seemed like the only threat. Now all teams know about Davante Adams already. He's going to be getting all the double coverage, so I think it could open a big gap for Darren Waller to shine this year.
Davante Adams is the best receiver in the league. I just want to say that again and repeat. Davante Adams is the best receiver in the league. So you put him on
a little hint to our next episode, possibly, maybe.
Potentially. But either way, I'll say it again. Davante Adams is the best receiver in the league. It just makes me laugh because you can double cover half of these guys in the league, and I could say a fair share of half of them can toast them half the time whenever they are being double covered. So, Darren Waller's one of those guys too. He's a good vertical guy. Sometimes Derek Carr can throw a bad ball, so it makes it look bad on Darren's fault. But I feel like Darren Waller has, again, with being a tight end, I feel this has to go to say you got to be, one, you can be able to big and block off some other guys, and 2, you got to be really good at with your hands and catching some balls, because like I mentioned before, tight ends are those check down guys for quarterbacks. When no other guy's open, the tight end is a quarterback's bestest friend. He blocks for you, he catches you, he does it all. So Darren Waller fits this profile. He's the definition of a rising star on and off the field. I'm glad we're able to put him on this list and talk about him. I'm also glad one of my favorite tight ends right now, we're going to talk about a guy that I feel hasn't been getting enough respect because he's in a league with George Kittle and Travis Kelce, casting a huge shadow over him. His name is Mark Andrews. My God, he is on my division. Yes, he goes and plays against my Pittsburgh Steelers 2 times a year. Yes, he's playing for the wrong team, and although he looks great in purple. I'm here to say Mark Andrews is my guy. He's been my guy since day one, even with Travis Kelce. And so whenever he had that record-breaking year last year for the Ravens, I just want to say, haha, to the doubters out there. But let's just take a moment now and let's read off some Mark Andrews stats. He's only been in the league 4 years. Mark Andrews last season, 17 games. He caught 107 balls for 1,361 yards. That's 12.7 yards a catch. He only had 9 touchdowns. He got 75 first downs. His longest reception was 43 yards, which means he's really good. His catch percentage, he caught 69.9% of the balls thrown his way. That's over half of the balls that came, almost 70%.
Yeah,
I was going to try to find an accurate way of saying it, but we'll round up. If you threw 10 balls at him, that means he caught about 7 of them that came in his way, and that's with a lot of guys coming at him. And he, again, record year. Coming into this point, the first 3 years he had, his second year was the next best. 2019 was the next best. He had a pretty good 2020. 2018, obviously, his rookie year was his worst year, but that goes with a lot of guys. So I feel that's worth mentioning. And, of course, now Zoom again for the second straight episodes reminding us we got 10 minutes left. Mark Andrews is my guy. I've made it clear, obviously, with that last little speech and rant I went on for a second. But now go ahead, Joe, your turn. Hype up our guy.
Yeah, he had the year of his life last year. Really, like you said, proved a lot of people wrong. Lamar Jackson loves his tight ends. Like, he really loves his tight ends. Rolls out of the pocket all the time, looking downfield for a guy. Your tight end is your guy that you want to go to. There's not a lot of help there for him. Like their number one wide receiver at the moment is Rashad Bateman, who was a rookie last year. So there's not really that many threats there for him. We don't know if J.K. Dobbins is going to play, if he's going to be back. Gus Edwards, we don't know if he's going to be back. So if they don't come back, their number one running back is Mike Davis. So there's just like not a lot of threats there. Lamar Jackson is really, really, really good. Mark Andrews is his guy, and he's going to feed him as long as he can. And that's where you see those numbers. Of course, all pro. He had the best single season of a tight end last year. The only reason he's number 3 is because there's these other 2 guys on this list. But you could put him at number 1, and I would be okay with that. He's just so, so good.
If we're talking from last year, Mark Andrews is number 1.
Yes.
Obviously, but the only other threat from last year is Travis Kelce. But since we're doing, of course, the past like maybe 2-3 seasons, that's why he is put down to number 3. But again, you got a big shadow cast in front of you when you got when the names Travis Kelce and George Kittle come in the same category as you. So for him to have that year last year, I think that definitely benefits his cause, and I think that's something noteworthy to remember coming into this year, especially because George Kittle had a pretty downgraded year from the year before. So now, of course, I feel something. We can't really rave about these next 2 guys because their stats have been incredible for the past 2-3 years, no question. Now, Joey, explain yourself why you put Travis ahead of George Kittle. What was your reasoning for that? Because I know maybe a good share of other people may have had that the other way around.
Travis Kelce is above George Kittle because of Patrick Mahomes. That and the fact that, let's see, Travis Kelce has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 All-Pro appearances in a row. Just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 Pro Bowls in a row. And those numbers, they just don't lie. He has 9,000 yards in his career, receiving-wise. He's going to reach 1,000 targets this year. He has 700 catches. He's a touchdowns machine. He had 9 last year, 11 before that. He's just so good. His catch percentage is over 70%. This is nothing against George Kittle. It's just Travis Kelce has been doing the same thing and giving the same production for too long to not have him be number 1. And a lot of these years that he had this production were without Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah,
so now with Patrick Mahomes. Yeah.
That's a fair point. And I feel like something else noteworthy is if we're talking blocking wise, I'd probably give it to George Kittle more. But
I agree.
For a tight end, it's not just one aspect. George Kittle had the year they went to the Super Bowl with Kansas City, he had a really good receiving year, but I feel like Travis Kelce, otherwise, receiving-wise, has had a fair shot at being the better receiving tight end of it. That's why I put him ahead of it, because, again, a tight end's more than just blocking. It's a lot more receiving, especially now as the league continues to get older and older, and there are more guys come in. The game has changed a little bit. So I put Travis to number 1. He's also, I think, personality-wise, though, both guys fit every aspect. Blocking-wise, George goes to George. I think receiving-wise goes to Travis. So just because we have these
also,
guys... Go ahead.
Travis Kelce stays on the field, and George Kittle is not staying on the field.
Yeah, that's
like
George
Kittle is being on the field, but not as consistently as Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce has never missed more than 2 games in a season.
Yeah, George Kittle's more injury prone as well. That's a fair point. I mean, the entire 49ers.
But that's going to come with blocking now. Like, him blocking enough is going to come with that. I also think that it's going to be interesting to see Travis Kelce without Tyreek Hill there. I think that's going to be interesting to see how he deals with
off a lot of coverage options for him. That means Travis is going to get majority of the coverage now because if you don't have Tyreek there to help you, you just have a lot of moderate guys instead of an elite guy. So, a word I say all the time: interesting. This is interesting.
Mm-hmm. And we need to see what Trey Lance is going to do in San Francisco because he's going to be the guy this year. So we need to see if they have a chemistry, if they have a connection. That's another thing to look for because Kittle's got a new quarterback and Travis Kelce and his connection with Mahomes is proven and is going to be there again. So we'll see what Trey Lance does this season.
A lot of unknowns, yet a lot of excitement. Again, Joey, let's give ourselves a round of applause. Our third top 7 list in this case completed. That was our favorite segment. We're going to be working on some new segments as well, but you can't hurt with the classics, and that stuff is awesome. If you liked what you saw, give us a like. If you really liked what you saw, make sure to subscribe. We're going to have the comments on. I want to hear some critiques. I want to hear what you liked, what you didn't like, your comments maybe on players, on what you agree with, what you don't agree with. I like to hear what everyone has to say. The nice thing about sports is there's a lot of different ways you can look at it and a lot of different opinions. There are no wrong answers, but if they do vary from Joey's and mine, then they're wrong. So, I can't say that. No, I can't. I can't. But I thank everyone for tuning in again. Again, with the scheduling, it's been a tad crazy, but as the fall comes closer, more of a defined schedule will be out. We'll be posting some more episodes. We appreciate it again, as always. Joey, do you have any final words?
No, this has been fun. Can't wait for the next one.
Me too. Agree. All right, guys. We'll catch you on the next one. Cheers.